UFC fans, we are live in the words of Bruce Buffer.
What up, what up? Another episode of the Beefy Boys Breakdown, episode 108. Today we're breaking down UFC Fight Night, Kattar versus Allen. And as always, we're one of the only shows out there that go over every single fight on every single card. So we're going to start off with the prelims like we do. And man, pretty fun prelims, like we had a bunch of finishes. We have some of our favorite prospects, some fun personalities. I actually was pretty much equally as stoked on the prelims as I was the main card, largely due to some questionable, card placement. Like, I don't know who Jared Vanderall has nudes of in the matchmaking office, but, like, seriously, like, how this guy keeps getting, like, this good card placement is beyond. Granted, they were trying to use him to build a contender series guy this time around, but dude, these Vanderall card placements just fucking, I'm not going to drop it, bro. Every time I'm going to be pissed about it.
In the UFC roster watch, he's now the joke rather than Sam Alvey. Like, people talk about Jared Vanderall somehow being on the roster when there's no way he deserves a spot.
Well, yeah, that could even be debatable, but, like, definitely not main card. Definitely, I think his last fight he was the co-main, and now he's in the featured match. For a guy that's being debated if he's even should be on the roster, like, is it if he was first, second jerking the curtain, I probably wouldn't even feel strongly about it. Like, all right, whatever, just a kind of fluff heavyweight roster filler. But, like, when you start, like, they keep giving him this card placement that sends me a message as a fan that I'm supposed to give a shit about this guy, and I can't get behind it.
I don't understand it, man. And honestly, like, his fight style is not that entertaining, especially in this card. You know what I mean? Like, normally he's even more entertaining than he was last night, which is still not that entertaining, right? Just fight style. And then I think card placement was big, but to be fair, for him, about the only fight that I thought was completely out of place card placement wise had to have been Justin Jacoby and Khalil Roundtree. I thought that could have been the co-main, honestly.
How was it not the co-main? I think I even tweeted from our Beefy Boys account like earlier in the week whenever I started doing my research for the card. I was like, how is this not the co-main? Like, Justin Jacoby is undefeated in the UFC. Khalil Roundtree, good name value, been on Rogan, right? Like, anybody that goes on Rogan,
great story.
Like, marketable guy. People know who he is. 30 million people, however many listeners Rogan has, know who he is. You know what I mean?
The biggest informational program on earth literally is Rogan's show.
Like, Chase Hooper, pretty big following. Andre Arlovsky wasn't on the main card. The Dolidze Haas fight could have been on the main card. Granted, the featured prelim I thought was like probably a perfect spot for that matchup.
I'm almost very surprised that Andre Arlovsky wasn't the featured prelim, because I thought that would be a good draw for the prelim's name value and kind of fits him skill-wise at this point. Like, his skills are starting to degrade.
He was on a 4-fight win streak, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the way he fights, like, it's just not. Granted, he's fighting smarter, but I don't think he's fighting technically maybe better. But I don't think those what made him a champion, what made him a top 10, a top 5, those things are kind of disappearing from him.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. But man, we'll dive into these prelims, man. Jerking the curtain. We got Christian Rodriguez minus 410 favorite fighting Joshua Weems. Plus 330 dog making his debut in the bantamweight division. Weems did miss weight at 139.5. I liked Weems here. Not so much that I liked Weems here as much as I didn't think Christian Rodriguez should be minus 410 over a fucking heavy bag.
Right. You know I think the value here spoke for itself. Like, to put Christian Rodriguez at minus 410 was like, either Weems is awful or Vegas is completely overvaluing this kid.
And, like, whenever you look at, like, their tapology, very similar, like, points to get here. I think Rodriguez lost his contender series matchup, and then Weems. I think Rodriguez had, like, a split. He won his contender series matchup, but wasn't impressive enough to get signed. Goes and fights gets an easy dub on the local scene. Comes back, loses his UFC debut.
That's what it was.
Weems is a guy that I'm pretty sure he lost his contender series fight, but it was exciting or something along those lines. So to me, we're talking about the same guy here. They were very similar records, very similar credentials, similar ages, like similar points in their career. And I was just like, I didn't see where the minus 410 value was coming from. until the fight started.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Granted, once the fight starts, you see one guy is able. I mean, this fight takes place in all of one round, so it's not going to be the biggest breakdown for you fans at home because it's not the most technical either. Honestly, Williams lacked a lot of major technical points. Man, not a lot of good head movement. Was letting Rodriguez land single one shots and then falling with twos. Whenever Rodriguez realized like, oh, he's just going to sit there and eat my jab. Well, I'll start throwing combos, and he was landing way harder than Williams. Now, granted, Williams' movement wasn't terrible on his feet, his actual leg work.
Yeah, and Williams had some moments of success. I mean, Williams got 2 takedowns. There was a moment where he landed a pretty goddamn big elbow. But, I mean, credit to Rodriguez. Every time he got taken down, he'd get up, like, immediately. Like, so fast that maybe it may not even count as 2 takedowns on paper. But
I think they counted both, but, like, the first one I literally don't count.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was a mat, like, stood right up. You know what I mean? But then it was weird. And then because at distance – I feel like each guy had positions where they were better. Like I said, Rodriguez was getting those. I mean, Williams was getting a couple takedowns. The in clinch, like I said, the elbows were pretty nice. But like at distance, man, Rodriguez with the kicks, the body kicks, really at distance, kickboxing range looked very much more proficient. Williams didn't really have an answer at all at that range. And then in the actual grappling, we'll get to it. About 3 minutes into the round, he gets that big reversal. Which, I'll be real, bro. I need somebody. I mean, maybe you could break this down a little bit better than me because it was a weird reversal to where it looked like he just kind of did it. Like, I don't know. Obviously there was more technique into it than that, but it literally, like, he just reversed the position, like, almost to sheer, like, will and want to. Just willed his way.
Essentially, all it really, I mean, it's pretty basic sweep and reversal, but Williams, like, fell right into it, essentially, because Christian Rodriguez pretty much swept the leg with his leg, right? And then that's pretty much like a muscle reversal at that point. Either you're going to be strong enough to lift his upper body off of you and throw him to the side, or he's going to be able to press you back down and hold his balance. Well, essentially he took that point of balance with his knee and swept him over to the top and then got to like the head-to-head position and just locked into the anaconda.
Yeah, that anaconda was nasty, and I mean, the minute he started to cinch it up, I was like, "This is a wrap. Fuck this plus 330." I guess I'm not the smartest man in the room, but yeah, man. I mean, great win for Rodriguez. So he gets the anaconda choke, which is a pretty high level submission. You don't see it every day. Did he get a bonus for that?
No, he did not. Yes, Christian Rodriguez did get a bonus. We kick off the main card or the fight card with a bonus. There's 2 on the prelims, 2 on the main card.
Yeah, man. I mean, so we get the first round sub, the anaconda, kind of an exotic choke. Get the bonus. I mean, good for Christian Rodriguez. Beat a guy who missed weight too, so he got the extra bag. Good for him. And the extra bag. Happy for him. Good fighter. We say this almost every week, though. Like, in the bantamweight division, it's hard to get too excited about these low-level wins just because of the pure depth of the division is really unmatched. And, I mean, we don't know. I mean, he got a win over a guy making his debut, plus 330. Kind of don't know what to do with it. I mean, he looked great, and I'm happy for his bank account. But as far as stacking him up against other bantamweights, I mean, the guy can obviously grapple. He can obviously kickbox. How easy he was getting taken down was a little concerning. However, he was able to get back to his feet relatively easy. So, I mean, good skill set there, like good base to build on.
Yeah, has good straight line punches too. Like, isn't afraid to kind of throw straight.
Totally. And so, I mean, good on him. Gets the win. We'll see it. What he can do moving forward. So many guys for him to fight in that division. He definitely has. It's a long road to the top if you want to rock and roll in the bantamweight division, man. Like,
maybe the deepest of all of them. In fact, it is. I'm not even gonna say maybe.
I mean, like, you could find yourself, and I know it's kind of the self-defeating point when the same card as Arlovsky, but I mean, you could win 4 fights in a row and still not be ranked in the bantamweight division. Like, in middleweight, you win 4 fights in a row, you're probably headlining.
You're Alex Pereira.
Yeah, or Sean Strickland 18 months ago or 12 months ago. You know what I mean? Like. Actually, it's funny. I just had a Facebook memory pop up of like the Halloween card. I think it was 2 years ago at this point. The Hall Silva card. Sean Strickland was on the prelims. It was crazy. Every fighter on the main card, every fight on that main card had somebody go on to be a main eventer. Like Kevin
Really?
Holland was on the card. Sean Strickland was on the undercard.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Bryce Mitchell. Well, I guess he has Bryce Mitchell. He's headlined a card, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
so
no, was supposed to against Chikadze, but got pulled. But was signed for it.
And was supposed to against Evlov, and that fell out.
Which I was pumped for that fight.
That was the Mitchell Feely fight, but yeah, it was cool looking back on that card. But anyway, I get a little off topic here, but yeah, man, good on Christian Rodriguez, gets the dub. My bet tanks the parlay, sets the tone for a shitty day at the sportsbook for your boy, and we can keep it pushing, man. This next fight was pretty goddamn fun.
I actually enjoyed this next fight a lot. It was not how I thought it would go either from a breakdown standpoint, but I think it brings us to a good point that we've been talking about throughout the entirety of the last probably month and a half, which is if you can't wrestle and you're a jiu-jitsu specialist, you're fucked.
Yeah, you're fucked, man. We got Cody Durden, good old American wrestler, plus 140, taking on Carlos Mota, minus 165 at flyweight. And this is a prime example of hype kind of getting exposed, if you want to frame it that way, because my Twitter feed was full of Mota dick riding. Apparently, I think he was the LFA flyweight champ. Had a lot of hype on his name. Won his Contender Series fight pretty convincingly, if I do remember correctly.
Yeah, it looked good in his Contender Series matchup.
And a lot of people, expected big things from Mota. Still probably do. I mean, I think, but Cody Durden, man, no slouch. No easy dub by any means.
He's honestly one of the tougher nights out just because he'll wrestle you so hard. And, I mean, he's kind of down to trade, but the minute you start getting overboard with the trades, he'll shoot for the takedown. He always wants to take down. You can tell that's his prime martial art is wrestling.
Exactly, totally, and he does a good job of implementing it on these flyweights and able to keep the top position on these smaller guys. But was he keeping Mota there, or was Mota choosing to be there and play jiu-jitsu? Because, I have that in my notes, like Mota playing jiu-jitsu, just like whether you want to use the word playing jiu-jitsu or accepting the position or just regardless, he wasn't really making an attempt to get back to his feet. You know what I mean? And none of the subs were really all that close at all. I mean, I don't feel like Durden.
I don't think Durden was ever in any danger at all. I mean, you could say that maybe there was one time he almost caught an armbar, but immediately got stacked, and then the arm was pulled out like within 3 seconds, so there was never even pressure on the elbow.
Yeah, man, and then as far as my betting takes on this fight, I didn't actually really like either guy, but I did like the under, which seems kind of dumb in a flyweight fight. Because, Payton with a broad stroke, the flyweights usually go the distance, a lot less power there, not the exact opposite of Francis Ngannou in there. But both of these guys have a lot of early finishes on their record, especially as of late. And it was one of those things when Durden loses, I think it's usually a first-round knockout. So it was like, I knew if Durden was the dog, so it's like, and Mota gets a lot of early subs. So I did like that combination of the under here, and I think I got like minus 135, so pretty good on the under 2.5 rounds. But with Durden's wrestling heavy style, in retrospect, if Durden was gonna win, it probably wasn't gonna hit the under. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, but like if Mota wins, I think it is the under, right? Like he catches him either with a punch or a submission. So I think that's one where you could have, at certain books, parlayed it the right ways, where you could have stacked it as a Durden win by decision and then a Mota win by finish.
Yeah, kind of hedged your bet there. But yeah, I mean, I have Durden winning every round. It was a whole lot of top control with some actually pretty good ground and pound. I mean, not the craziest ground and pound in the world, but he was active. I mean, you don't get to hit the position for 4 minutes if you're not getting damage off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and as far as I had it 30-27 as well, I had to actually go look and see which round they scored for Mota. I kind of thought it would be round 3, which it was.
Yeah, round 3.
But even still, man, I mean, Durden's like almost 13 minutes of control time throughout a 15-minute fight. I mean, that just paints the entire picture, right?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought up them giving Mota 3. Mota got some if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, wasn't it kind of like some Kevin Holland punching off your butt type of
Yeah, with a little bit of good maybe 40 seconds of good stand-up in the round as well.
Yeah, and I just didn't think it was enough to still, like, to be honest, I was shocked. Like, I don't even have the word close.
I didn't have close. I didn't have any of that.
Yeah,
I mean, Durden
like,
controlled 3.5 minutes on the ground in round 3 and continually kept Mota pressed. He kept pressing him on the fence, too, which we didn't note, but is super important because if you can't swivel off to angles in jiu-jitsu, you can't roll for arm bars. You can't try to sweep the leg or switch to a leg lock from the bottom. You can't do any of that if your head's against the cage.
when Mota, like, oh no, Durden, he got the 2 takedowns. He had the control, but also what I noticed in round 3, he was beating the jiu-jitsu guy to the position. Like in every scramble.
Yes, even got into half guard. Got into half guard in round 3, which I thought was impressive. Like stepped through the guard.
Like I said, yeah, there was a couple of decent strikes, and yeah, Durden like obviously didn't like a couple of them, but it's not like he knocked him down, or I don't even think he cut him.
He never had him in a threatening position. I mean, hell, if you looked at them at the end of the fight, neither guy even had that much damage on their face or their body for that matter.
Yeah, man. So I do disagree with giving Mota 3. Like that seems like a sympathy round or something. I don't really
kind of a stretch.
Yeah, for sure, man. But yeah, Durden gets the win regardless. Unanimous decision. Yeah, 2 judges gave Mota that 3rd round though. Each and every week I'm going to disagree with that type of shit. But
I do disagree as well. Also, I just realized we didn't note it. Happy Halloween, everyone! If you're wondering why I'm dressed like Mario.
Oh no, this is just Harrison's Monday morning outfit. But no, yeah, happy Halloween. Sorry I'm sticking them, but I've dressed up twice already. I was a little over it. I'm a little Halloweened out, but
yeah, this is my 4th time in this costume. This is my 3rd different mustache. I bought a 60-piece.
A 60-piece mustache.
Yep, there's brown, blonde, white, and black, and I got 15 of each.
Nice, man. I do love the costume. That's fun, man. But yeah, happy Halloween, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good time. This is my first Halloween in Reno. Actually, no, it's my 2nd Halloween.
Had to be great. That's a Halloween town.
It's fun. Reno does Halloween right. There's been a crawl like every weekend. Like last weekend was the downtown crawl. We went out to the midtown crawl. Halloween does Halloween right. Does everybody dressed up? All the vibes were fun.
Anyone literally crawling by the end of it?
Dude, so I mean, the day after crawl, like I worked downtown. And the day after the crawl, there was just like literally like vomit lining the streets. So much vomit.
Oh my god!
Just walking downtown.
Dude, just savagery in the streets.
The sidewalks were not safe, but yeah, man. Plus 140 cashes for Durden. My under does not cash. Just eating all the dicks at the book. Man, Durden's a good flyweight, man. If he could string together some wins, he's kind of a win 2, lose 1 kind of guy, which is tough to do in the UFC. I mean, he's by no means not a can. I just don't know if he's like a top guy. But
luckily, he's a flyweight, he's a flyweight.
Exactly.
Not a deep pool of guys for him to get past or cut by.
And I feel like not a ton of guys with his skill set of like a wrestling-based flyweight.
Right.
Most of the flyweights are either jiu-jitsu-based or striking-based. So it's a tough matchup for some of these guys, especially, they said Mota was supposed to be the next hot shit flyweight prospect. And I mean, Durden extinguished that, which I think he can continue to do.
Yeah, and I will say as well that, they've done Durden some favors, and they've done him not some favors, right? Like his debut was against Jimmy Flick, and he got flying triangled, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Right? Then he got the Arichi win. Then he has to fight Muhammad Makayev in Makayev's debut. Well, that was a 1-minute sub. That's tough. Yeah. But then they did give him JP buys. It's kind of let's get buys out of here though, right? Backdoor handshake. And then the Mota fight, not really a favor, but still a way more winnable fight than the other 2 that I mentioned that were his losses.
Yeah, like I said, for a prospect fight, that's about as tough as it gets. Mota had a lot of steam on him. A lot of people expect a lot of big things out of Mota. So, yeah, no, man, I mean, like, I think Durden's just, like, tough night out, like, 100% good enough to be in the UFC. He said, I don't know if he'll ever, like, make a title run, anything crazy like that, but I could see him inching his way 11, 12, one of these days, you know what I mean? Beating some of these guys. I mean, good skill set, like I said, in a unique matchup for the division. But we can keep it pushing to, I don't know, I can't wait to hear how you feel about this one, how you felt going in and how you felt now. We got Chase Hooper. I mean, a lot of people's, popular young prospect, funny guy on Twitter, kind of a phenom, quote unquote, if you will, even though the record's starting to kind of point against that. But I mean, one of the best grapplers in the division. We have, Chase the Dream Hooper. I love that nickname. Minus 295 favorite, 3-1 favorite. He's only 23 years old, still fighting Steve Garcia, plus 245 dog in the featherweight division. And I mean, I'll be real. I don't know anybody out there that was like ringing the Steve Garcia bell going into this one. I think most.
I don't know anyone was.
Yeah, most people like this was kind of on paper looking at it, and maybe this is disrespectful. I mean, this is how it looked on paper going into this one. It was kind of a get right fight for Chase Hooper. It was supposed to be like a get back up, get the hype back in the train type of fight for Chase Hooper. Get right game.
I mean, minus 300 fight.
Hey, they forgot to tell Steve Garcia. They forgot to tell Steve Garcia that he was supposed to get beat up here.
Yeah, well, and I think they forgot to tell Chase Hooper to put his hands up because.
Yeah, like, did Chase Hooper think he woke up Mike Tyson this morning? Like, Chase Hooper comes out. He's a really slick grappler. His path to victory is through submission. Like, it's just obvious. You could even go as far as to say he's a one-dimensional fighter.
No, he really kind of is.
And he woke up thinking he was Mike Perry. He just literally starts swinging like haymakers, if you can even call it what Chase Hooper throws a haymaker.
He has no power, man. He has no shoulders.
He just started swinging like essentially from the hip. Like he was fighting like he was Chris Barnett in there without the fucking wheel kicks.
It was crazy, man. I couldn't believe the approach. And Steve Garcia punished him badly for that approach. I mean, so bad. Knocked him down 3 times in the first round. And I mean, that his left hand was literally lighting fire on Chase Hooper's face.
He knocked him down. It ends up being in 92 seconds, Chase Hooper hits the canvas 4 times. That's not hyperbole. That's not exaggeration. 3 times, 3 knockdowns, and then the 4th one was the knockout.
Right.
All within essentially 90 seconds. It was wild. It was one. Now, I mean, to Chase Hooper's credit, he kept getting up from those first 3, but he never recovered, and he never just abandoned the. I was like, the first time he got dropped, I was like, okay, Chase Hooper was trying to have a little fun. He was trying to, quote unquote, show he can strike. Now he's going to grapple it. I thought he was going to do an Imanari roll, guard, anything to kind of get it back into his world, and he just never learned his lesson. He would get dropped, left hook, the same punch dropped him every time.
The left hand, just every time.
It just left hooks to the jaw.
And that's not to say the right wasn't landing too. It was just the left was the power shot.
Exactly. And like I said, I don't know if it was a game plan approach, an ego approach, trying to prove that he's more than just a grappler type of situation, which I guess would probably fall into ego. I don't know. Did Steve Garcia, I'm not trying to take any credit away from him. He did his job. I don't know if he did anything earth-shattering or groundbreaking, you know what I mean? He just got in these exchanges with a guy he was a much better striker than and a man that he's much physically stronger than. I think Steve Garcia has a way better chin than Chase Hooper. But like I said, I mean, tell me if you saw it differently. Chase Hooper's the one that decided to engage in this style of fight. It wasn't like Chase Hooper's like, oh, the takedowns are getting stuffed, and so now we got to see what it's like on the feet. Like from the opening bell, I said Chase Hooper came out just fighting like he was like a fat heavyweight at a local, underground MMA scene.
The first time he shot a takedown was after the second time he got knocked down. I mean,
at that point,
yeah, right. He's rocked. Like, it's not even going to be a technical takedown attempt.
Yeah, he was rocked. And I mean, I don't know, bro. Maybe it's because of how I viewed this fight going into it as affecting how I view this fight, like my takeaway from it. But it's hard for me to not be like, that's a dauber down Chase Hooper more than it is a dauber up Steve Garcia. And maybe you could say that's a hater take. Maybe I need to give Steve Garcia his flowers. But like I said, I kind of view it as Chase Hooper chose to engage in this wild stand-up battle. And Steve Garcia did what he was supposed to do, but I don't think he imposed his will or he did some kind of strategy to make Chase Hooper do this or he showed some kind of slick setups. Like it was Chase Hooper just engaged in this wild brawl and got his ass handed to him by the bigger, stronger guy.
Yeah, and Garcia did come down from lightweight, and you could just tell the power differential was crazy too. Because Chase Hooper did land a few shots.
And just, I mean...
They were nothing. Even when he landed a clean, left, I believe it was, it just didn't even phase Garcia. Whereas everything Garcia threw was hurting Chase Hooper.
It was literally like the cheesy '90s movie where you punch the big biker and then his jaw just doesn't move and he goes on to proceeds to beat your ass because like yeah, you're right. Chase Hooper landed a couple of clean shots, didn't fucking matter at all. I mean, you could say that's Garcia's chin, and to an extent it is, but yeah, like Hooper's lack of power is disturbing. Like I don't know. You don't really see it maybe unless we're talking like women's strawweight as far as just like literally you can't hurt your opponent with that strike. Like it's disturbing, and the Chase Hooper kind of fun little experiment or whatever, it's kind of unraveling before our eyes because I mean it's like what best case scenario he's a Ryan Hall, and the Ryan Hall thing we're all overseeing that type of fighter, the one-dimensional jiu-jitsu guy. Because Chase Hooper, I don't think you can like learn power or learn striking at least as much gains as he needs to make. Like there's a wide gap that he is like needs to make up, and the UFC is not the place to like do that. Like if he goes and puts on 20 pounds of muscle and comes back and fights at lightweight, but then he's getting cracked by lightweights and taken down by lightweights. Like it's tough, man. I like Chase Hooper. I think he's funny on Twitter. When he does get a crazy sub, it's a lot of fun for us fans. He's got some bonuses. I said fun on the mic, fun on Twitter, but I feel like the ceiling, we're starting to kind of see where that ceiling may be, and it maybe not be as high of a ceiling as once was thought.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to decide where I would put him in the division, and like, it's honestly toward the very low bottom.
Yeah, because who's the featherweight that we always want to throw to the wolves? Alex Caceres. Alex Caceres beats the shit out of Chase Hooper.
Right, like I'm trying to think like Alex Caceres has beat him in a decision in 2020.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's right.
Like, if
Alex Caceres is that bottom end featherweight, kind of the gatekeeper for the rankings, and like, yeah, he lost to him and probably would lose to him again. It's a terrible matchup for Hooper. Caceres being a good striker and all.
Right, and Hooper looked really good in his last fight against Felipe Colares boxing, but that's a jiu-jitsu guy. So, like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's more like you fought a boxer this time and still tried to box, which is not your good skill set, so quit trying to do it either way. And then he got his ass whooped.
It's like, man, I wouldn't even mind, like, seeing Chase Hooper, like, go try to, like, grapple for one championship or something. Because, like I said, that striking is at such a deficit that I don't think he's going to be able to overcome it, bro. I hope he can prove me wrong. By all means, when I say these type of things on the show, it's not that that's what I'm hoping for or that I don't want to see these guys succeed. It's just kind of, observe and report. The grappling is undeniable, and he is slick as fuck. So and the rise. Competitive grappling, is submission grappling. It's growing. It grows by the month in popularity. Maybe there's a future there, but like I said, I have a hard time envisioning him kind of closing that striking gap. Especially in the featherweights. Think about, even like a guy like Bryce Mitchell, who's almost one of the more one-dimensional featherweights. He beats the shit out of Hooper. Manhandles him.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Like, that's not even a close fight. He's 3-3. Only one loss in a row. Like, his first loss, was coming off a win. So he probably, if he loses two more in a row and has bad performances, is looking at being cut. Like, I think that's where he's at. Is kind of has to fight for his job every week.
Yeah, and his card placement's going to keep going down and down. But yeah, man, we can keep it pushing, man. A good win for Steve Garcia. I know we kind of just turned that into the shit on Chase Hooper hour, but good win for Steve Garcia. Cashes as a plus 245 dog.
That's nice money.
That is, and I was not in on it. But shout out to anybody who was. If you hit that plus 245, leave a comment below and let us know. Flex, leave some money bag emojis. And I'll go ahead and introduce this next one, man. We got Ugly Man Joseph Holmes coming in at a plus 185. 6'4" middleweight, taking on the 5'10" Jun Young Park, minus 215. I liked Park coming into this one.
Me too.
we like Park kind of in general. We're big Iron Turtle fans on the show.
Yeah, big Iron Turtle guys.
Yeah, big Iron Turtle guys. Love that nickname. But also, he's a tough night out. Like, even the fights that he's lost have been pretty close, and like even some fights that he's won have been really close. But like, just a tough night out, tough guy. Not the most dynamic striker by any means, but so like just strong and it finds a way inside. That's another thing. These shorter fighters, what do these announcers and the Twitter commentators say till they're blue in the face? They say that, the shorter man has to find a way to get inside. I don't know if there's a better shorter fighter at finding a way inside. Even when it doesn't work out for him, he's going to find his way inside.
It always happens, it seems like.
He's good at it, man. And it's such a cliche, and it's such an overused term, and every short fighter knows what they're supposed to do. But very few go out there and do it as effectively as Jin Young Park.
Does a really good job of keeping distance and then kind of, throwing jabs as he closes. And then he'll, throw the, couple jabs just to really see his range, like how far out he is. And then he usually gets a nice, inside step in and either goes for a takedown if you don't back up, or if you back up, he keeps walking and starts throwing a combination. He's really slick with it, man. And he's pretty disciplined, too.
And that being said, this may be the first fight kind of worth going round by round a little bit. It doesn't go to a decision, but I'm really curious how you scored round one, because I do think that there's an argument to score round one for either guy, and I'm interested to see kind of what side of the fence you fall on.
Yeah, so... for most of the round, Iron Turtle was winning, right? Got the takedown, transition to the back, had Holmes' back for a little bit.
Yep.
And then at the end of the round, maybe a minute to go, Holmes gets the reversal and lands some pretty good damage, right?
Yeah, and gets a sub attempt in that was pretty decently deep. And I thought Holmes was landing some really hard, really clean shots on the stand-up at the very start of the round. So it was one of those, it was like a sandwich. Holmes won the start of the round pretty convincingly and the end of the round pretty convincingly. But the whole probably 3 minutes in between was being controlled.
Not a lot of damage by Park.
Not a lot of damage. I think we're both coming down on the same side of this. I gave it to Holmes.
I did as well. Now, as far as the judges go, they all... Oh, wait. 2 scored it to Holmes, 1 scored it to Park.
I think that's fair. Because I really think if you gave it to Park, you're not tripping. He did. He had his back for, 3 minutes?
Yeah,
I don't know.
3.5.
I'm sure Aljamain Sterling had a fucking boner, just had his back, no damage, just oh, yeah, this is how you do MMA. But, yeah, man, pretty fun, pretty interesting first round. Now, round 2, a lot less competitive. Jin Young Park was well, I'm just going to do what I did for the 3 minutes of round 1 that I was winning for the whole round.
Yeah.
I'm just going to that thing that I did that worked, I'm just going to go do that. And it was kind of funny, man. Jin Young Park, even when he has success, he's like the anti-Flash. When he does stuff, it just doesn't look that great or that cool, but it's super effective. He kind of takes, he grabs Holmes, he gets the body lock, transitions to the back, and doesn't do some big fancy slam or some slick judo trip or some jiu-jitsu. He literally just grabs him and sits down.
It was tight, jumped up and kicked his legs when he jumped.
And yeah, man, so he took the back, and there was, in Park, man, showed his jiu-jitsu. I mean, there was a moment where they were just transitioning from back to full mount to back to full mount, and the hips just rode and just floated and just went back and forth. And credit to Holmes, he showed a little bit of grappling defense by forcing those, positions, but Park was just all over it, just flowing position to position, which, was pretty impressive.
On a Fansville homecoming by Dr. Pepper.
Surprise!
CJ, we weren't expecting you.
Hey, buddy, what are you doing here?
Hey, go State.
You replaced me with star quarterback Bryce Young.
We could never replace you.
Here's your Dr. Pepper, Mom.
Mom?
It's just a silly nickname.
You came up with Dad for me.
Here
you go, kid.
No, he literally kept putting his hand out to tap.
You're my family now, CJ.
Next
I was
time on
what are you doing?
Fansville.
You should be fighting with your hand.
Hey, brother.
Get out of my room!
Dr. Pepper, the one fans deserve.
Right now we have a
that's too
ongoing police investigation.
Visually looking else for Holmes in a row.
What happened
he was
in
a
the
guy
tunnel
that was kind of fringe,
was
was lucky
egregious.
to get a shot to be in the UFC. I don't know if
Sickening to watch the videos, the ones that are
short notice replacement. But he's one of these guys
on social
that
media.
probably
now,
traditionally wouldn't have
and
even got a shot to be in the UFC.
also the ABC
but it didn't
tunnel
get
cam
that flashy
is in
kind of. Now looking back on it, maybe
higher
even fluky
elevation that
knockout in his
shows-
debut, and we're like,
shows
oh,
much more
he's 6'4",
of
so
what
it's just
took
like,
place.
oh,
Good
did
measurables.
did we find a
As I
guy
said,
who's
those are-
marketable with the mustache and the
those
colored
are,
hair?
sickening to
It's
watch.
like, oh, maybe
There needs to be accountability. There needs to be a full,
that well. He's getting
thorough,
exposed.
timely
All I'm saying is he
investigation.
moved to James Krause's
I can't
gym for this fight and
imagine
got choked out.
that
So
these
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
will not,
stand-up's there. I mean, he's a 6'4" middleweight.
that they won't.
If
I
they
can't
want
imagine
to
that this will
cherry-pick
not
and give him
result in
striking
criminal
matchups,
charges.
you know,
The
whatever,
videos
you could have some fun with him,
are bad.
I think
And
he's just demonstrating
it's
the
clear
level
what
that he's
transpired.
at,
It seems
and I don't think it's a high
very,
enough level.
very
I mean,
open and
granted,
shut.
I'm not trying to take away from
As they
Park.
say,
Park, I think, is a damn
watch the
good
tape.
fighter. Park's no can.
I'm coming from this from a
He's not an
perspective
upper
of
echelon, but he's, I mean,
being a
just like
parent,
that mid-tier,
and these young
middleweight.
men
Yeah, probably like number
Right.
like 20, 23,
are
22,
entrusted
something like
to
that.
me by their
Places.
families and to our program, and we have the
Good fighter. I
responsibility
like Park. We both
to each
like the Iron
player
Turtle here on the breakdown.
to treat
but,
them
yeah,
like
3
our
minutes
own.
and 4 seconds into round
And
2.
I take that
Rear naked
responsibility
choke.
very
Minus
seriously.
215. One of the few picks I
An
got
apology
right
will
all
not
day,
get the
so
job
shout
done
out.
in this
But
instance.
that was
should be serious
just as much me betting
consequences
against Holmes as I was
for
betting
the
on
many
Park.
individuals that are
I
culpable.
don't think Holmes is the level.
And on behalf of the 22
measurables help him out, and the
2022
marketability helps him out.
Michigan football
But as
team,
far as like the well-rounded MMA skill set,
our players,
He's
our
lacking
coaches,
it.
our staff,
He's lacking
our
it.
university.
in a big time way. But
this has been a very
in the next
traumatic
fights, man, we'll
experience,
keep it pushing to the heavyweights.
for
'cause
everybody,
it's Andre Arlovski
especially,
fighting his 55th
for
professional
Jaden and
fight.
Juwan, and
Literally been fighting over 20 years in the
for the sport
UFC
company.
because he was a champion in
support them.
2003, I believe,
and,
at the age of
Yeah,
and their
23.
families in every possible way.
Right.
yeah, and been fighting since the 90s. I think he's the only UFC active guy with fights in the 90s. Or who's the other heavyweight that always gets the Ezekiel choke?
On an urgent Fansville.
Yeah,
Hurry!
probably them
It's almost
two are the
kickoff.
only
I am.
guys
Oh, they
Right.
locked me
still around
out.
from the 90s.
What's the password?
So he's plus 215.
Okay, it's
fighting Marcos Rogerio de
P23XR
Lima.
ampersand.
I miss
Or, I'm
basic
sorry,
cable.
Rogerio
Dr. Pepper,
de
the
Lima.
one fans deserve.
Looking
Minus
at this, I
255.
can't say it's all that
He's
surprising.
kind of like
It had been
the
coming
bully
for quite a
beatdown
while.
kind of
It
a style
started in
fighter, right?
February
Like just
of this
marches
past year when
forward
there was an
and
inquiry
just is
made
like a
into
bruiser.
how the program was being
Yeah,
done,
literally
the things that
fights
were going on behind
like
the scenes, all of
if
which
you
proves
closed your
to be
eyes and thought of like a
untrue. But either
stereotypical
way,
and not in a good
here's
way,
where we're at.
heavyweight, just
Brian
brawler,
Harson was
just
a
gonna
terrible fit.
be kind of fat and throw
Doesn't
huge
mean
bombs.
he's a bad coach.
That's Rogerio
Doesn't
de
mean
Lima.
he wouldn't have
And
success elsewhere.
man,
But the reality is, he was a
this was
terrible
my
fit.
biggest
Auburn
bag of shit I
wants
had to
things
eat.
done
Not only this was like
Auburn's
essentially my
ways.
lock of the week. I
It's
liked
the way it's always
Arlovski in
been.
this one.
It's the way it's always
It's
going
not
to be.
too often
And if you look
that
at
you know a
just
43-year-old
what
guy would
Auburn
be my
is and the
lock of the week,
structure
but the
of
plus
Auburn.
215.
I live in Birmingham,
and
Alabama.
I mean,
My
Rogerio de Lima was like
grandfather went to
37,
Auburn.
38
I have a
years old
fairly
himself,
good
so it's not like he's fighting
of
some
what this
young lion
program's all
spring
about.
chick.
Okay?
So I
There
thought the
are
age
power
factor was going to be kind of
brokers
neutralized.
that are
Arlovski's on a 4-5
at
win
Auburn
streak.
than the
Rogerios
university
had some
president.
very mixed bag results.
They can run the
I know he looked
program
real good on his last fight out,
if
but I
they
was like,
want to.
what's
And
real,
they've
the
tried.
previous or the most
And
recent? That's
when
always
Brian
kind of
Harson
tough
was
to,
in charge,
you know,
they
juxtapose
failed.
against each other. But
That's
yeah,
why
I
Brian
love the
Harson's
Arlovski
essentially
value
on
here
his
at
way
plus
out.
215.
It's not
And,
like he is excused
but I mean, it
from
unraveled
any
pretty
blame.
quickly. I mean,
Brian Harson
very
made
like the
mistakes.
round pretty much
Brian
started
Harson
with Rogerio de
did
Lima,
not
you know,
fortify the
knocking
roster
down
via
Andre
the portal the way he
Arlovski, and
wanted
Yeah,
to.
30
or
seconds into
needed
the
to.
round.
30
Brian
seconds
Harson
into the round was a
did
big
have
right
a little
hand,
bit
I
of a run of
believe,
bad luck
and
because
just a
of
big
injuries that he
haymaker
experienced
landed,
at several
put him
important
down, and
positions,
the
most
body
notably
language was not
last
great
year
from
when they were ranked as
Arlovski.
high as
Like, I'm
12th
not
in the
saying
country.
he quit, but just
2021, they were 12th in the
there
country.
was like
and
worry
Bo
in
Nix
the
breaks
eyes,
his leg
you know what
against
I'm
Mississippi
saying?
Yeah, you
State.
could tell he was
Next
not
thing you
happy
know,
with how that
they
fight
lose
was going and
5
did not
straight
like where he was
to
at.
finish out the season,
And
including the
then
whole
once
loss
he
to
got on
Houston.
top, once
They're
Rogerio
right
de
in
Lima was
Brian
able to
Harson's
get on
backyard
top,
of
I mean,
Birmingham,
it was
Alabama.
just
It was a bad
big
fit.
ground and pound. He wasn't
Brian
going for
Harson
any
wanted to
subs.
come in and do
Wasn't
things
honestly too
his
worried
way.
about control. He just let
That's
he
not
let
gonna
gravity
happen
to
at
get the control time.
There are too many coaches
Yeah,
in
no
the kitchen
doubt.
I don't
that
know
want
if
to have a
Company Box
piece
counts the gravity,
of
but
what's going on as it
they
relates to their
I
football
mean, he's just a
program
big old guy
and as
on
it
top
relates
of
to
him,
their
just
athletic
raining down blows.
It's all
like I said.
good.
I mean,
No hard
the
feelings.
fight was pretty
Brian
much over
Harrison
whenever
will
Arlovsky
resurrect
got
somewhere
dropped. I mean,
else
this fight lasts.
and
It ends up
probably find
lasting
success yet again.
essentially another 2 minutes after he gets dropped, but that was the beginning of the end. It unraveled pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, let me see the landed punches stat here for our
Everyone knows that I like Zach Wilson as well. If I was in Zach Wilson's quarterback room right now, this is what I'd say to him. It's time to grow the fudge up, dude.
And
It's
one
time to
was a
grow
leg
up, dude.
kick
You're not in
as
the
far as
Mountain West
total
anymore,
strikes.
champ.
So
Okay? I
literally
guarantee
landed one
Kubiak
shot
called
to
me
the
over
head,
as a young quarterback
one
one time
shot
and
to
said,
the
you got to
body.
understand, man, that
And
when
away.
you have that ball in your hands,
Yeah,
you have
and, like, when I
everybody
did
else's
pick our
job
loss,
in
I
our
did
building,
probably think he was
livelihoods.
gonna be by
It's not just
decision. I
yours.
thought he'd be
It's
able to kinda
everybody.
out-cardio
There's a
and
difference between
be smart
carelessness
enough in the
and aggression.
first,
There's a difference
3
between
minutes to,
confidence and
try to
ego.
avoid and
Right
tire
now,
him
you
out a
play with
little bit.
such
I was
ego,
totally
such
wrong.
carelessness, such
Rogerio
recklessness
Lima
with
has
the
real
football.
power,
And
like,
there's
even
moments in that
for
game where you
heavyweights,
sit there and go,
like,
that's
don't
what it looks
hit me
like.
with the
There's that
heavyweights
second-round
have
talent.
power. Yeah,
But these
there's still
decisions are
tiers and levels.
unbelievably
Like, I think he's a
reckless.
really
You
dangerous
don't
guy.
have
And
to
he's
do
thick.
this anymore, Zach. You are a talented enough
Unbelievably
player,
thick.
and there's 70
Yeah,
snaps a
he's
game.
so thick,
This
so heavy on
means
top.
you have to
Now,
grow up.
being
Because right
thick,
now
he's
you're
not
holding
like a
your
plus
football
athlete.
team
Now,
and
plus
certainly your
explosive,
offense
but
back.
not
You
plus
ain't playing
athlete.
against the Mountain
I
West
do
anymore,
think anybody
dude.
that
This
could
is
get
the
him past the
NFL.
12
And
minute
guess
mark
what?
would have a
At
lot of
some point, your
success.
organization
I
is
agree.
going to look at you, and I get that you're
Definitely
young,
not the
and I
most
get that you're
technical guy
talented.
either. I mean, he kind of
And they're
wins
going
his
to say,
punches, just kind of throws
you ain't the
bombs,
guy.
fights like a
But then I have a
baller,
question. When
heavyweight
you
nature.
are Zach
Well, I
Wilson and
mean,
you're
I don't know. That's how Tai Tuivasa kind of started out, you know. But he's like I said, he's 37, 38 years old, so it's not like you're expecting a lot of development. I just don't really know how to like interpret him. I mean, heavyweight's not that deep, you know. I mean, you can climb the rankings kind of quick at heavyweight, especially with the Aspinalls of the world being out. I mean, he keeps getting these knockouts, these wins. There's a path there, but he can probably knock about anybody out. You know what I'm saying? Like.
I mean, KO Ben Rothwell about a year ago in 32 seconds, but did get bully beat down by Romanov.
Yeah, but Romanov, I'm still high on Romanov.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know
me
he
too.
lost his last one. Like, I think Romanov could go on to maybe even fight for a belt still one day. Like, I'm real high on Romanov.
Yeah, and Rogerio de Lima was coming off a decision loss to Blagoy Ivanov, which Ivanov's no slouch either.
Yeah, no, he's had a tough strength of schedule for sure. Yeah, so I mean, it's like I said, he stacks maybe 2 more wins together. There may be he may be doing something here, but he is older. He is kind of running out of time, but dangerous night out for literally any heavyweight. Like, you mean to tell me he couldn't knock out Rosenstruik? Like, he could.
I didn't realize he's been in the UFC since 2014. Consistently.
Oh, yeah, well, he fought at 205 too, I believe, which is hard to imagine how thick he was.
He's fought at least once every year since 2014 in the UFC.
Yeah, so just not super active, it sounds like.
Yeah, not the most, because, I mean, he has, like, 13 fights over 10 years, pretty much. Or 9 years.
That's rough. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds like he kind of sabotaged his own career. Like, if he was fighting 3-4 times a year, who knows what he could have maybe accomplished. But
Yeah, it sounds like he's getting about 3 fights every 2 years, roughly.
yeah, and that's I mean, that ain't going to get you to the top. But, I mean, good win, great win. I mean, it's going to be tough for me to bet against him in the future just because I know how dangerous he is. That power is very real.
Yeah, no joke, man. But with that, I say let's keep it pushing to the main event, or I guess the featured bout of the prelims here. Interesting fight. Interesting. I was a little wrong in this fight in the way I saw it.
I was pretty stoked on this matchup because, I mean, so Roman Dolidze is a guy that I've kind of had to come full circle on because at one point him and Bisping talked about it after the fight in cage, but like,
so you're 45. That's the perfect age to see some old friends, explore new worlds, and to start screening for colon cancer. Yep, with colon cancer rising in adults under 50, the American Cancer Society recommends starting to screen earlier, at age 45. I'm Cologuard, a non-invasive way to screen at home on your schedule, and I find 92% of colon cancers. I'm for people 45 plus at average risk for colon cancer, not high risk. False positive and negative results may occur. Ask your provider if Cologuard is right for you.
And just
Start starching people.
I like
yeah,
his whole
like
team,
what
like
happened?
his
Like
family.
some switch
But realistically,
and
Leon Edward.
so and he's fighting Phil Haas, who
Morocco
was maybe one of the better athletes on the whole roster, just like from like a combine type perspective.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But he now saying.
And gets a lot of early finishes
only
himself. So
amateur.
I actually
Hey,
love the under on this one.
Relax,
This
chill.
is one
Enjoy, champ.
that
you earned this.
I called. I
can
do believe.
honestly,
I got minus 120 value on the under because I was like, I knew that they were still factoring in some of that old Dolidze.
But hey,
and I was like, if Kyle Dawkins shows up,
because
and Phil Haas always kind of has that style.
That will be back.
This under hit for sure.
Brother,
So I love me the under on this one. Like I said, because of what Dolidze had showed us in the Dawkins fight. That new
can be
kind
lunch,
of aggressive,
can be
like,
London,
to the
Africa.
style. But not a lot of guys can make that switch flip, you know?
Yeah, I know, and he's been, what was he, plus 150 for the fight to win it?
Yeah, plus 150.
Phil Hawes minus
10-1, man. Like, I feel like we don't talk about Dolidze like a 10-1 guy.
Because he was just so snoozy until now, you know? Now he's proven that he's not going to be snoozy, so now he's really worth talking about, which, in this fight, man, Phil Hawes, the minus 175 favorite, and at no point did he look like it. Dolidze was outstriking him, and then chaining the striking into really good takedown attempts and like clinch moves, and then essentially after the takedown was pretty active in the top.
Thank you, Nature Made, for seeing that life is a little chaotic and creating new targeted blends to help. So when our sleep, stress, and immune health are thrown off, new Nature Made Well blends can help us find balance.
Close, but I mean,
hey, man, listen, you were inside, you were performing with DC in his Foot Locker shirt as the referee, man. What was it like, though, to get an opportunity to be in there with Seth, be with DC, and how did DC perform to you? And do you think he should be back as a referee again?
I mean, it was rough, and this is where it got real weird, because Dolidze doesn't go for the kill immediately.
I think he did a great job reffing. But I think, I think he's
bigger and stronger. It was real weird, bro. The ref, I thought the ref mishandled this situation horribly. Because the ref has to do one of two things there, and there's no middle ground, and he chose the middle ground. When somebody blows their knee like that and falls back and isn't intelligently defending, you can stop the fight right there and do it in no contest.
Frederick Douglass said, it's easier to raise boys than it is to repair broken men. So many of our boys have to live life by trial and error.
Didn't stop the fight.
In the Cave of Adullam, we train them up so they can make these mistakes where it won't be so detrimental when they get out in life. Pretty soon, that boy
I feel like Dolidze kind of backed off though and was like asking Hawes, like, are you going to keep fighting?
Yeah, if Dolidze would have swarmed him like we see later in the night, you're right. It was a combination of Dolidze and the ref, but it reminded me of the situations where, guys call their own timeouts, which we also see where the guy like, oh, I got poked in the eye, but you didn't.
All right, 1, 2, 3, let's go.
I thought the ref mishandled it. I thought Dolidze.
Welcome to the Places Universe. Peyton Manning. It's kind of like Eli. I've drafted the most legendary team in the universe.
I agree.
Thank you for joining me.
To tell the stories of the people and places that make their sport what it is today.
And Hawes' leg was clearly
I made this one good.
I mean, ridiculously compromised.
Man, I
it was
still got
bad. It was going on. And
the Places
you
Universe.
felt bad for Hawes, right?
Exclusively
But I mean,
on
I think he was going
ESPN+.
to lose that fight regardless. But I mean, and it was also, like I said, was not fluky because the leg lock is what hurt the knee. So.
Right.
Right
yeah,
now,
no, I mean, it was all damage caused by Dolidze.
Ongoing police investigation.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it feels
what happened in the tunnel
but
was
it was
egregious.
Like the sport of MMA that
sickening to watch the videos,
like
the ones that are
like you see later in the card.
that are.
I think Dolidze is going to build his
right
brand
now,
a lot off that too, because he was pretty good on the mic afterwards.
Also,
pretty
the
good
ABC
English.
tunnel cam.
Yep, spoke good English. I mean,
higher elevation that shows.
It's crazy. I don't remember I've ever seen a fighter go from having like a completely snoozy style to like uber aggressive, like go for the kill style. Like,
yeah, and he told Bisping, like, you told me I was boring, so I decided to show you I'm not boring.
Full, thorough,
and I was
timely
boring. I mean,
investigation.
And he was boring. Yeah, no one was wrong when they said that.
These,
exactly. But yeah,
it's
wild to see. I mean, Caster's like a plus 150 dog.
I can't imagine.
He's going to be a favorite in his next fight. I almost guarantee it, man. Like, his value probably went up so much just from being able to get to that grappling position and execute there.
It's clear what
while having that
transpired.
striking. They're going to have to start to respect Dolidze.
Very open and shut.
He gets a bonus for that, so gets the 50K.
Watch the tape.
And I wanted to take a look at
I'm coming from this from a perspective of.
I also forgot to say Steve Garcia got a bonus as well.
Young men.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
okay,
there were 3 on the
entrusted
prelims and 1
to me by their families and to our
See,
program, and we have the responsibility
to
each player to treat them like
I
our own.
And
I take that responsibility.
If Dolidze got any of
very
these guys,
seriously.
I would not have a problem with it. Duplessis,
An apology will not get the job done in this instance.
I think
I think Chris Curtis makes a lot of sense.
So
for
the
many individuals
could and
that
maybe
are culpable.
would beat Chris Curtis.
And on behalf of
because Duplessis has that match against Darren Till, where if he wins that, we're going to have to not talk about him in such a way. And I don't think you will. But Darren Till also hasn't fought in so long.
Our university
and has a lot of L stacked up. I feel it. I feel it.
Experience.
Yeah, Chris Curtis
for everybody.
You know,
especially
didn't look great. What was
Jaden
that? That was the Hermanson fight, right? That he got pretty tuned up.
Support them.
And then Brad Tavares has been steadily just on a downward trajectory.
And their families in every possible way.
So, I think Delize could get any of those guys. Now, will they? Should they? I guess that's a different debate. But I think he matches up just fine with any of them.
All right, now I have a question for you.
Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh calling this an assault on one of his players after the win over Michigan State. It's hard to argue. That's Wolverines defensive back Jaden McBurrows at the center of a scrum of Spartan players.
So
throwing punches and kicks at him. It's one of two Wolverines that Harbaugh says were assaulted in the tunnel in Ann Arbor.
Chandler fighting Fiziev at 6. That's dope. I'm happy for Fiziev. And Gamrot still went up one ranking even with the loss. Sarukian's climbing up. Jalen Turner's up to 10.
Give us your 4 teams in order, and then one team to go ahead and file away for later.
Because he's such a fucking freak.
At number 4, we start with Michigan. Very good performance last night against a rival that has had success against the Wolverines in recent years. It was dominating in every single way. So Michigan still pretty much knocking off all the opponents until they get to Columbus. At number 3, this is the tough one because you could easily make a case for Tennessee being the number 1 team in the country, and we might a week from today. But the Vols were just dominating against a very good, or at least we thought, a good Kentucky team that just got run over by Tennessee. Number 2, another team you could make a case for number 1, Georgia got way out in front yesterday in Jacksonville, held on, and then had its way in the final half against its rival Florida. And number 1, what about Ohio State? The Buckeyes did what they had to do in that fourth quarter, as we alluded to. I think Ohio State will be at number 1 perhaps for the last week because the winner of the Tennessee-Georgia game next week is going to vault down. And the final team, how about this, TCU? They continue to win. Yesterday on the road to West Virginia,
honestly,
they still have a difficult road left.
That's all makes sense.
How about this opening performance for the new coach at TCU, Sonny Dykes? It's been pretty amazing.
It's been fun to watch Max Duggan as well as Paul Feinbaum making smarter on SportsCenter.
And I also think Gagey's coming off some L's, and the Chandler fight, he barely beat Chandler. I don't know, man. I think Benny Dariush is going to get hosed.
My perspective is, I heard from the 2 players when we got into the locker room, when we started addressing it.
Do you think? I think it's Gaethje, Fiziev, and then Dariush Oliveira.
What happened after the game?
I really want that Dariush Oliveira
talk to the commissioner.
And I could see maybe Gamrot getting the loser of Poirier Chandler.
Right, that makes sense.
Which would be sick. You got RDA hanging out right there, but I think he's going to have to fight back. I can see them doing like Jalen Turner, RDA.
Yeah. And then you still have Sarukian sitting right there waiting to get some action, too.
You want to protect your players.
Yeah, how the fuck? What do you do with Sarukian, man? Because he's a tough matchup for all these guys.
10-1, whatever it was. It's
yeah, no, it's fun, man. It's fun. I love seeing that we're starting to see these younger, newer names creep their way up and have to be included in the conversation because it was the log jam of, older, richer, bigger names kind of log jamming the division and not being active and not fighting anyone but each other. And that little song and dance got old for almost 2 years. Like, this is the first time of the Beefy Boy era that log jam's really starting to clear up.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man.
Timeout. Corey Robinson makes the cut. Goes to the end zone. Touchdown, San Jose State. And the Spartans have the lead. Corey Robinson is in again.
You got in the back end, you got Hooker at 12, McGregor at 13, Ferguson at 14, and Jugo at 15.
Yeah, fun back end, especially because it's all vets that kind of are protecting it.
And for me, it's the vision. This play was supposed to go front side.
The other guy
put his foot in the ground, cut all the way back.
I think it's stupid to have Conor in these lightweight rankings.
Me too. Like, he doesn't fight.
And he's definitely not making lightweight again. I don't think so. Maybe call me out if he ever fights at lightweight again.
From Saturday, don't forget, he's brought to you by the Capital One fan votes. I love this one.
giving the
One last
kicker
question
some
before we
love
go.
on a fake
We'll wrap it
kick.
up after this, I promise.
Give him that ball.
Dillashaw dropped all the way to
Boomer
5,
sooner.
Sanhagen to 6.
Number 4,
Cheetos
Missouri
at 4.
State, Jason
Jan and
Shelley,
Robert tied at
Hunter
2, and
Wood
O'Malley's
comes
1.
down with it. Look at the hurdle. Jumps over the Western Illinois defender.
Which is what you
the
kind
ball.
of have
Get in.
to, right?
Yeah, it makes so much sense. They hate
Missouri
each other.
State
It's great.
wins the game.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
64-14.
You don't normally see a hurdle
If
with a guy
O'Malley's at 1,
No,
which
he's
is
kind of like, yeah, I'm going to go
wild.
over you. Number 3.
It makes me
Cyrus
wonder, 'cause there's two
Dumas
different things that could happen
can't
here.
come down
I
with
mean,
it, and Dumas quickly reacts.
Either they're doing, it's either Sugar Cheeto
Tip drill.
or
tip drill. The quarterback got to be thinking, what's going on?
Dana already said
New Mexico State wins. Cornell visiting Princeton. Matthew Jester comes up with it.
Okay, nice hurdle.
No. Jester's dead. Jester, quick reaction, tips it to Jameson. What is going on here?
I'm not interested in that.
If they're smart, that's what's
Once
going
again,
on.
Aljamain Sterling the most unlikable champion of all time.
How do you cringe? So is Henry Cejudo. They have a cringe off.
We never cringe on
Yeah, that's about a
35-9. And we what number one's going to be. Brock Bowers. This play was remarkable.
Poster you can make
The concentration.
$1 for number 2.
I don't know, man.
Off the hand.
You can't.
I'm cool
You
either
gotta
way.
smack
You
it
can't.
down.
I really do.
Be sure to go to twitter.com/ESPN-CFB to vote now for who you think should be in the top place.
Prove it. Was that a fluke or was it not a fluke? Because then, regardless, Sugar's going to have to fight Cheeto again. Because even if Sugar fights Aljo and beats him, his first title defense is going to be against Cheeto. So, I don't know, what do you think? Because I think it's honestly crazy that being called Washington champion Sterling is. I think that this whole conversation is built around Sugar, not built around Aljo.
I think Aljo wants to fight Sugar because of his home money. I think it's definitely an easier fight than Cejudo. I'm not going to be like that guy. Cejudo is a good fighter. If he can make that weight, he's huge. But
Yeah, so I don't know if he can.
But if he could, I think he beats Aljamain if he can make the weight. Because I think he does everything Aljamain does better.
Yeah, but the stand-up
There's
would
the
be
snap.
brutal for Cejudo.
Dug it. He's just going to hoist it down the sideline one-on-one.
But
And it's
Aljo
caught.
such a
Touchdown,
long
there's a
reach. Aljo
flag
has the reach
thrown
of
at the
like a
line of
wrestler.
scrimmage.
Like,
DeSavion Williams have an icing on the cake touchdown.
So you think
Or is
that
this
Cejudo
coming
can go
back
on
as a
the field?
flag was thrown at the 30-yard line
I
as they
would like
jumped in the
Aljo
neutral
on
zone,
the
gave
field by a wide
TCU a free
I
play.
don't think it's
and they
super
took
wide.
advantage.
That's what I think. I
Savion
think
Williams
Aljo's better. I just don't think
ices
that
the
he's
game.
good
The
enough
experienced
to keep it where
quarterback
Cejudo
Max Duggan
can't
hard
get in.
count. How about the throw?
Yeah, I think Aljo's
Put it
gonna
up
be
there.
so
Give your
much
receiver a
bigger.
chance. Savion
know,
Williams, all
Cejudo's
6'5" of them up in the air.
But he's also not huge. Like
Right.
Watch how he
But,
high
like,
points
now
his
he
ball. That's
probably
the
would be,
definition of
because
it.
he's gotten so big.
Push the corner by, go up.
Thick, but I mean,
6'5", extend it with the hands. It's about 10 feet
Like,
tall
oh,
going
yeah,
up
he's
there and
super
grabbing it.
Sterling walks at like a jack 170.
What a job by this
And he's
TCU
long
offense.
as fuck. Like, I don't know, man.
I think Cheeto and O'Malley is the matchup you do, though. And I think you try to get Cejudo out of retirement to come challenge. Now, granted, I think Cheeto and O'Malley is a crazy good fight.
Crazy good fight. Do you think that they could do a pay-per-view?
Somehow holds on for the touchdown. And we've got a one-score game again.
This is a great look at it, too. Reisman diving, takes the hit, and is able to hold on to the football. And this will certainly be looked at upstairs.
Actually in an arena, like not an Apex fight night, but how they be doing them in Austin.
Oh, yeah, like selling it out ticket-wise.
Selling out ticket-wise, I could see them maybe doing that. Maybe, probably not, to be honest.
The Arizona Cardinals obviously have a good thing with quarterback Kyler Murray and wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. But what about Rondale Moore? Can he be a top 30 wide receiver? I think he can. Even though Hopkins, obviously, in his first week back, Moore did nothing. He had one catch in week number 7. But this week, 7 for 92, and he had a touchdown. Robbie Anderson's doing nothing, and Robbie Anderson's going to do nothing. He's not that good. Rondale Moore, if they would just get him the ball in open space,